Okay, friends, it's time to turn our attention to Patrick Bet-David. I've watched a few of his videos and found them both painful and insightful to watch, and I'll explain why in a bit. For those of you who aren't familiar with Patrick Bet-David, or PBD as he's often called, he's an entrepreneur, author, and financial advisor known for founding PHP Agency, a financial services marketing company. It's also a multi-level marketing company, you know, where people are tricked into thinking they can make a decent part-time income only to find out that you basically make nothing if you're only doing this part-time. He was confronted by CoffeeZilla on this.
So what I'm saying is that across the board, you're looking at your life licensed agents. So either way, we are comparing apples to apples because you're saying, well, there's a qualification, but I'm only comparing your qualified
saying on the life
people.
license. No, what I'm saying on the life license, you're right on the income disclosure. I'm not disputing that.
Right.
All I'm saying is on the life license side, not anybody can get into the business, meaning there's got to be a certain element of background check to sell insurance while you don't do traditional MLM.
Right, but the actual performance, money into people's pockets. When we talk about multi-level marketing, and you know as well as anybody how criticized it is, let me be honest with you. I hear a lot of guys like, oh, we don't understand why we're criticized. It's because the compensation plans always leave people out to dry. The vast majority of people lose money or make almost nothing. And despite the continued rhetoric by the CEOs of these companies, and Patrick, I include you in that, of, oh, these people just want to work part-time. They just want to work part-time. If these people could be making a lot of money, and they were sold on the idea, by the way, that they're going to make a lot of money, and it was really as easy as they were told it was, why aren't they making it? They are told repeatedly that this is easy, that if the line is basically this, hey, come to MLMs, you shoot for the moon, even if you fail, you'll end up with the stars.
That's not true, though. That's not true.
You have actively promoted that idea.
That's not true, though. I have not. That's not true.
Well, to be fair, no. Patrick says both. You do say sometimes
no.
Amish, come on, let's get this money.
Let's show his own statement in his.
This video is so tight, though, too. I love this video, dude. Champ is it? Which video we got?
No. This is from the Sexiest Compensation Plan. This is what you say about making it, all those kinds of things. Let me pull this up.
By the way, video crew, tight, dude. I love the editing. I love the video crew, man.
A lot of people that could be watching this and saying, Pat, give me a break. Who makes $1 million your income? You know who makes $1 million your income? Watch this.
Okay, hang on here, guys. We got to find this real quick.
Is 1 in 1,000 really that special? Wasn't there a song called You're 1 in a Million? You know how that song, You're 1 in a Million? Now that's something. Like you tell a girl, baby, you're one of a kind. You're 1 in a billion. What would happen if you told the girl, baby, you're 1 in 1,000? Your girl would say 1 in 1,000.
Hold on.
Baby, 1 in 1,000 is not special. What's the point? Anybody can make $1 million your income.
Anybody can make $1 million income. Now, before you respond to that, let me keep playing it for a second.
Because out of 1,000 people, one person's making $1 million, and so can you.
Watch this.
If you get to work and you have this compensation plan work for you, you can make a lot of money. And what if you come?
This is what I want to talk about, Patrick. This is what I have a massive problem with. It's not, hey,
tell me which part of it. Tell me which part of it bothers you.
Right here.
You messed the whole thing up. You only make $200,000 a year.
You completely messed things up. You only made $200,000 a year. This is an onboarding style video, or people would send this video to people.
Can I make a suggestion?
What if you completely mess this thing up and part-time you make $60,000 next year? Would that change your life?
$60,000 a year, part-time. Nobody's making this. Like, it's a fraction of a fraction.
PBD is also the creator and host of Valuetainment, a YouTube channel and media brand that's little more than a podcast version of Fox News, complete with its own Alan Combs. In any case, I've been meaning to focus on PBD's bad faith and outright slimy debate tactics. However, this isn't another Jimmy Dore or Steven Crowder. Our boy Patrick Bet-David is a pro. I can see how he was an accomplished salesman, as he is a master of reframing, bait and switching, making false analogies, playing hide the ball, etc., etc. He's so good that I've gotten valuable insights and strategies watching his methodology. That said, he's also utterly full of it and is peddling his ideology, stumping for Trump, and worst of all, is a quasi-climate change denier. He doesn't outright deny climate change. He does what smart deniers do. He purports to accept or have an open mind to climate change, but simply has concerns and questions. And those alleged concerns and questions happen to be denier talking points. For example, He's one of those people who've made the argument that insurance companies continuing to underwrite policies in Florida suggest that rising sea levels aren't really a concern right now.
I've got a new book coming up about climate change. The best way to gauge if these things are real, climate change, is go talk to actuaries who run these big insurance companies whose jobs is to protect $1 billion. Because one thing insurance companies hate is to pay out money. They do not like paying out any of their money. And, you notice long term, they don't have a challenge with what's going to happen with the market, with climate change. If they did, they would be investing in different places. The whole real estate on the water, what's going to happen with homes in Florida, if it's that bad, why are insurance companies, offering the insurance to these homes on the water? Or else, is it going to be an issue 100 years from now? Probably. Is it going to be an issue 50 years from now? Probably. Is it going to be an issue in the next 10, 20 years? Probably not. So the actuary's job is to sit there and calculate risk.
But here's the twist. These insurance policies have indeed been rising in cost, and now insurers like State Farm are pulling out of Florida due to increased disasters, and scientists are saying that this is due to climate change. Now get this, Patrick Bet David will show this screenshot of this Newsweek headline stating that Florida residents are fleeing the state as insurance premiums skyrocket. Not surprisingly, he won't mention that the article itself clearly states that it's due to increased damages and that it's due to climate change. But that's not the impressive part. Even Jimmy Dore does this. Patrick Bet David just invents a dilemma out of thin air, and his video focuses on this fabricated dilemma. So, rather than mentioning the fact that the very article he's showing is citing climate change, he turns this into a conspiracy theory. In his narrative, Florida and Governor Ron DeSantis are being targeted for their alleged success with COVID. He also turns this into a California versus Florida contest. Like a good salesman, his super-fast speech and his constant hand movements don't give the audience time to come to their own conclusions. He's leading them towards the conclusion he wants to gaslight them into. So, let's get to it. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you hate this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, so let's watch the master work his magic, shall we?
So a recent article came out with Newsweek talking about insurance premium in the state of Florida is up in some places 900%. And you read this article, so, oh my God, this whole Florida thing, maybe it's a gimmick. Maybe they're not doing as good of a job. And if you look at the article, it says 275,000 people left the state of Florida. In some places, premiums gone from $1,700 to $4,200 per year. How are people making these things happen? Farmers, massive company, just announced they're leaving the state of Florida. It was so bad that the CFO of Florida, Jimmy, came out and said, Farmers is the Budweiser Anheuser-Busch of the insurance industry because they follow this ESG score. So what is really going on in Florida? Are they targeting DeSantis? Are they targeting Florida because they had the best reputation during COVID and California got destroyed? Who knows? What I do know is...
Excellent question, Patrick. Who knows? I'll tell you who knows. The people who actually read the article, and not just the headline you showed. They'll read the article and see that Florida insurance rates are skyrocketing due to increased intensity of natural disasters, thanks to climate change. And this includes you, Patrick. There's not a chance that you don't know that the article you screenshotted clearly states that this is tied to the increased natural disasters due to climate change. You're one of those people who's made the argument that, if climate change were a real concern, insurance companies wouldn't be insuring coastal homes in Florida.
Companies whose jobs is to protect $1 billion, because one thing insurance companies hate is to pay out money. They do not like paying out any of their money. And, you notice long term, they don't have a challenge with what's going to happen with the market, with climate change. If they did, they would be investing in different places. The whole real estate on the water, what's going to happen with homes in Florida, if it's that bad, why are insurance companies, offering the insurance to these homes on the water?
And now that insurance companies are pulling out of Florida because of increased natural disasters due to climate change, as explained in the very article whose headline you displayed, you're going to ignore this and gaslight your audience into some conspiracy theory you're inventing because you're not here to inform people. You're here to fleece and make money off of them. But of course, you're a de facto climate change denier and don't want your audience knowing that, so you fabricate this conspiracy and turn this into a Florida versus California thing. I don't care much for this idea of pitting states against each other, and it's clearly just a sleight of hand on your part. But if we are going to compare their COVID outcomes, then let's take note that Florida had a far higher infection and death rate than California. In fact, Florida had the 12th highest death rate and the 8th highest infection rate. But let me guess, your metric is probably something like return on investments or costs of goods sold, not human life.
We got all these slides to go through today on what the hell is going on in Florida with insurance. Okay, so if you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. But listen, to the people from California, you're watching this video saying, oh my gosh, finally, redemption time. He's going to attack Florida and California is going to come back to being the winner. Hang tight. Listen.
This is beautiful. As slimy and detestable as I find Patrick, I can't help but marvel at this sleight of hand. At a rate of 8,000 words a second, which makes him sound like a post-pubescent Ben Shapiro, and with hand movements, meant to keep his audience following his narrative, he's making The Focus a California versus Florida contest. Now, I don't know if viewers in California are really invested in whether or not PBD attacks Florida, but by merely invoking the alleged contest, he's keeping his audience's focus on this fabricated contest, and if they're focused on that, they're less likely to search the headline he shows and read the article for themselves, since Patrick obviously doesn't link to it.
The reason why I have a different perspective than some of you is for the following reason. Imagine if a man had dated Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, and Sophia Loren. To me, all dimes, right? He can probably give you perspective on all three. Now, I have not dated those three, okay? But I have dated California for 24 years. I dated Texas for 5 years, and I'm still dating Florida for 2.5 years, to kind of give you some context. Having said that, before you jump to conclusion, whether you're pro-Florida, pro-Texas, or pro-California, hang tight till the end of the video. When you jump to conclusion, wait for the data.
And just like that, Patrick Bet David has us thinking of beautiful women from the past. And I suppose that some people might fall for the notion that PBD's take on all of these states are based on good faith objectivity and not his ideology. As for the data we're supposed to wait for, why not just show us the data you've hidden, Patrick? The data that shows that climate change is exacerbating weather disasters, and this is what's causing this insurance disaster and exodus in Florida. That was a rhetorical question, of course. Patrick Bet David doesn't care about informing his audience. His goal is to gaslight and monetize them. Now PBD is going to take us further down the rabbit hole and suggest that this is an issue with ESG.
So one argument some people are making are saying, well, listen, this is all because Governor DeSantis took such hard lines when it comes down to ESG, and it's one of the biggest anti-ESG states. And when you look at this map here, based on Bloomberg, you'll see this. Red are the anti-ESG states with the most laws against them. Then you have those who boycott the law, those who are both anti-ESG and boycott. Then you got the divestment and the pro-ESG law. If you notice, Florida on the bottom right is anti-ESG. And Farmers is one of those companies that is fully committed to making sure they have a high ESG score. So one would say, well, those stories kind of go together, and maybe behind closed doors, somebody influenced Farmers to leave Florida because, Florida is not really an ESG state. That could be something to consider.
Okay, so Patrick Bet David wants us to believe that Florida's anti-ESG stance is the problem. Well, Patrick, rather than just considering this conspiracy you've inserted in order to further take us away from the Occam's razor conclusion that the issue is climate change, how about we apply some critical thinking to your suggestion? If this anti-ESG stance is the problem, then we should see a similar pattern with the other anti-ESG states in this graphic you're using. But we don't. State Farm continues to underwrite insurance for the other anti-ESG states, so this fabricated conundrum has no legs. Okay, let's have a little more fun with our boy here. Now he's going to suggest that the insurance increases are targeting red states. First off, note that the very graphic he's showing clearly tells us that the increases are due to increased wildfires and other disasters, which, as we know, are on the rise due to climate change. Let's watch the maestro lead his audience to believe that this is an anti-red state conspiracy.
The questions I want to know is this happening across the board in America, or is it just a Florida thing? What states are premiums increasing more than others, and what states is lower? Here's a list for you. Okay, so if you look at the largest increase, Florida is at the top, 35%. That number is a real number. Then it's Idaho, Colorado, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, Nebraska. You see the list of names. Some people may say it's only the red states that are increasing. How about the blue states? Go to blue states, smallest increase. Vermont. We know who's from there, the legendary Bernie Sanders. New York, we know where New York leans. California, Nevada, Maine, New Hampshire, Wisconsin. They had a smaller.
Notice, how he only mentioned the bottom half of the states that saw the lowest premium increases. That's because the state that saw the lowest increase is a red state, as are the states that saw the third and fourth lowest increases. The state with the third highest increase is a blue state. This entire video is a combination of sleight of hand and a Gish Gallop to tiptoe around the fact that climate change is real and resulting in higher insurance premiums. Watching Patrick Bet-David artfully bend reality as it suits him kind of reminds me of the used car salesman in that episode of Dexter. The way that PBD can just switch on a dime and invent the reality he wants is both repulsive and impressive. To recap, a few months ago, Patrick Bet-David made the tired old argument that if climate change were really resulting in increased natural disasters, then insurance companies wouldn't be insuring Florida residents.
The best way to gauge if these things are real, climate change, is go talk to actuaries who run these big insurance companies whose jobs is to protect $1 billion. Because one thing insurance companies hate is to pay out money. They do not like paying out any of their money. And, you notice long term, they don't have a challenge with what's going to happen with the market, with climate change. If they did, they would be investing in different places. The whole real estate on the water, what's going to happen with homes in Florida, if it's that bad, why are insurance companies, offering the insurance to these homes on the water? Or else, is it going to be an issue 100 years from now? Probably. Is it going to be an issue 50 years from now? Probably. Is it going to be an issue in the next 10, 20 years? Probably not. So the actuary's job is to sit there and calculate risk. Everything's about that. So the petrodollar, the fiat currency, whatever way we want to put it, could that collapse?
But even by this point, insurance companies were in fact starting to flee Florida. Then, when more insurance companies began to pull out of Florida, rather than admitting his mistake and having to admit that climate change really is a thing, PBD swindles his audience by only showing them the headline and one other section and ignoring the part where it clearly attributes the problem to increased natural disasters due to climate change. To go further, he invents some wacky conspiracies which he argues using terrible reasoning. By the way, the Florida insurance thing was always a stupid argument. As I pointed out years ago when Dinesh D'Souza made the same argument, it could be the case that 90% of insurance companies don't want to underwrite policies in Florida because of this increase in natural disasters. And the insurance companies that decide to provide insurance in Florida are by far the minority and perhaps have trouble competing in other states, so they'll take the risk. And by the way, PBD made this argument when Jimmy Dore was on his show and received no pushback. This is why right-wing content creators love Jimmy. He's the caricature of the dumb leftist, who has no rebuttals to anti-left-wing arguments, but will happily join these right-wingers as they attack Democrats and leftist content creators. You can bet I'll be doing videos on Jimmy's appearances on the PBD podcast in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. In any case, that's all for now. Let me know what you think in the comments.